Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. I hope that you're doing well. Welcome to another video and welcome to another unhaul. It has been a little while since I've done an unhaul. I think I did one in January, right at the beginning of the year, and now it's time for another one. I actually have quite a few books here to talk about, so let's go ahead and just get it out there, get it out into the universe. I'm getting rid of these books. I need to actually get rid of more because I have so very little space in my bookshelves right now, and I'm really struggling with trying not to bring home any new books and finding space for them. So some of these I have read, some of these I have not. There are different reasons for why I'm getting rid of some of these, and we will go through that when we get there. So let's go ahead and just get right along into it and talk about some books I'm getting rid of. Okay, first I'm going to start with the book that was never mine, but I needed space on my bookshelves and it just had to go. So my husband picked up one book when we first went to my now job, but then we were just shopping there. And he was like, oh, I'm gonna pick up a book. Maybe I'll pick it up every once in a while and read a poem or two. He never picked it up, and this is a massive poem book, and it's been over a year now, and he has never picked it up, not even one time, so I told him I was getting rid of it. It's gotta go. Up next, we have a whole bunch of parenting books that I just decided I didn't have as much interest in reading and or didn't have room for, so I let them go. Reasons My Kid is Crying. This is just like a cute picture book of like different reasons why their kids are crying and makes no sense. So I actually read through this whole thing and I thought it was super cute, but it's just no reason for me to keep it. Then we have a positive discipline for preschoolers. I'm not here yet. I'm not in the preschool phase, so there's no need to keep this one yet. Caring for Your Baby and Young Child, birth to age 5. This book is just too big and I don't see myself ever getting through it, so this one's gonna go. Raising Baby Green, the Earth-Friendly Guide to Pregnancy, Childbirth, and Baby Care. I'm gonna let this one go. And then What to Expect the Toddler Years, again, not here. I picked all of these ones up for free, by the way, so I'm not really like getting rid of books I spent a whole bunch of money on. I got these for free and I don't want to have them on my shelves anymore, so they are going. I have one little drawing book that I was going to spend some time doing, but I just realized that this isn't something that I want to focus on, pencil drawing at least, so I'm going to get rid of this one. And now let's actually get into some of the more detailed books. Some of these books I had interest in, and then they have slowly declined, and I no longer think that I'm going to read them. And some of them I have a particular reason for getting rid of them, but all of the ones I'm going to talk about right now are books that I have not read. Okay, the first two I'm going to talk about right now are graphic novels that I've had on my shelves for a little while, and I picked them up because they were the only graphic novels in the store, but I just realized that I really don't want to read these. The first one is Tuber? What? I can't even talk. I can't talk. Tomb Raider Trouble Seekers. I used to love the game Tomb Raider on the Xbox, and I love it so much. I love playing it. It's one of my favorite games of all time, and I thought maybe I would want to read a graphic novel about it, but I just haven't had any interest in picking this up, and I don't see myself pushing myself to read it anytime soon, so I'm gonna let this one go. And then we have Route 666, Highway to Horror, and I don't read horror to begin with, and I just don't see myself picking up a graphic novel, and it also just seems kind of cheesy, and it just doesn't seem like something that I would want to read at this point, so I'm gonna let this one go. If you guys see anything in this unhaul that I haven't read and I really need to read and you want to try to convince me to keep them, let me know, but as of right now, this one's gonna go. All right, up next is one that I've had on a TBR so many times and just never picked it up. I was supposed to buddy read it with a friend, Sharon, at one point, and we never got around to it. And I think I just decided that maybe this is not a book that I actually want to read, and that is The Grace Year by Kim Leggett. I believe this is like a sci-fi-y, like really interestingly weird book. I actually don't really remember what the synopsis of this is about. I've heard mixed reviews about this one. I haven't heard necessarily fantastic things about it, but I haven't heard any like really negative reviews about this either. So it was kind of like a mixed bag. I didn't really know how I felt about it, but the fact that I had it on at least 3 TBRs and never actually got around to reading it, I'm thinking I just don't actually want to read this one, unfortunately, so I'm gonna let this one go. Oh, we have another parenting book, The Wonder of Girls, Understanding the Hidden Nature of Our Daughters. This is more like a teenage book, and I'm definitely not there yet. Many years to come, so we're getting rid of this one. All right, then we have a couple of smut books that I just don't see myself picking up anytime soon. You guys know I'm a huge lover of smut, but I don't know, I just wasn't feeling these ones. So the first one we have is The Bastard's Bargain. I swear I can read, but I'm having so much trouble today. And this is by Katie Robert. I did read a book by Katie Robert in the past. It was one of her short novellas, and it was a like threesome, poly, smutty romance, and I really enjoyed it. And so when I saw this come in at the bookstore used, I figured why not, I'll just pick it up. But I just haven't had any like desire to read this, and if I really decide that I really want to read it at some point, I can always pick it up on ebook or possibly listen to an audiobook if it's available. But I just don't see myself picking this up anytime soon, and I have plenty of smutty books that I can get around to and probably enjoy more than this one. Another book that I picked up, because every time a Maya Banks book came in, I was like buying all of them, even though I had never read the author before, but I knew that she wrote smutty books and I just wanted some more of them on my shelves. But now that my shelves are like overrun with books and I don't have enough space, I really have to be picky about what I continue to bring home and what I let stay on my shelves, and this does not seem like something that I would pick up and read anytime soon. This is gonna sound shallow, but I like to like my covers, and these covers just aren't super appealing to me. Not something that I would pick up like right away, so I'm just gonna let this go. And again, if I really want to read it at some point, I can just pick up the ebook or borrow from the library or something like that. So there are options. I don't have to keep it physically. Up next is another smutty book, and I probably would have picked this up at some point. However, this is the second book in the series, and I didn't feel like buying the first book just to get the second book, so I'm gonna let this one go. This is Gabriel's Redemption by Sylvia Renard, and I haven't heard anything about this. I know it's smutty, I know that for sure, but again, never felt like really sticking around to try to get to the first book just so I can read the second book that's on my shelves. Again, plenty of options to read this if I decide that I want to pick it up in some other form of reading. All right, up next we have Money Doesn't Go on Trees. This is another parenting book. Again, I'm not going to be keeping this one. And then we have the entire first couple of books in the Magic Treehouse series. I was going to read these for a video, but there was at one point when I was reorganizing my bookshelves, and somehow I left these ones out, and then they no longer fit on my bookshelf, and I was just like, well, they don't fit, and I haven't read them. I've had them for months and months and months. I was going to do a video on them, and I haven't gotten around to it, so maybe that's a sign that I just don't need to keep them. So I'm going to let these go. Somebody at the store will love these and enjoy these and get a lot more use out of them than I will, so I'm going to pass them on. All right, the last one I have here is another book that is like a historical romance. I don't know why I picked this up. I think that at some point I was planning on doing like a historical fiction video, but right now that's not something that I plan on doing anytime soon, and there are plenty of books at the store if I decide to pick any up, and I have a couple on my shelves that I actually am a little bit more excited to read than this one. I believe I got this one because it was being donated, so it was an even more of a push for me to bring it home so I didn't have to pay for it, but another one that I just don't see myself picking up anytime soon, but you know, again, plenty of options. I don't need it right now. All right, we're gonna get into the books that I have DNF'd and then the books that I have read that I just won't be keeping. So let's go ahead and talk over those. All right, the first book that I DNF'd and decided that I'm just not gonna get back around to is The Chosen Ones by Veronica Roth. I just think that the writing style of this book wasn't for me, and it was very hard for me to get around like to reading it and getting into it. I read 50 pages of this, and it wasn't working for me, so I decided to let it go. I had actually buddy read this with a friend at the time, and he also didn't enjoy it, so I think I was in the same page, and I really wanted to love it, and I really wanted a little bit more out of the story. The Under the Dust Jacket is stunning, but it's not a reason for me to keep a book that I don't think I'm going to enjoy. So if you guys have read this and really enjoyed it, please let me know. This one I might be convinced to keep and give another try, but this is one that has been sitting on my shelf for so long, just sitting in my DNF pile, and it's time to let it go. The next one is Archie Volume 2. I didn't actually DNF this book, but I did DNF the series. I read the first one months and months back, and I really didn't enjoy it. I felt very disjointed. The actual like style of writing was very confusing. It jumped around a little bit too much, and it was very hard for me to wrap my head around, and I just didn't have any love for the characters, unfortunately. So I gave up on the first one. I kept this around thinking that maybe I would read the second one, even though I knew I wasn't going to continue on with the series from there, but it just didn't feel like a good plan for me to read a book that I don't think that I was going to enjoy in the first place. So I'm letting this one go, and I'm okay with that. And last, for the books that I have DNF'd, I am getting rid of Les Mis by Victor Hugo. I had this on a TBR for 2 months straight, and I only read 28 pages. I just don't think that the story itself is for me. I think maybe if I got an unabridged version of this and tried reading the unabridged version, or if I just watched the movie, I might enjoy it, but I think the book itself is just too long. It focused on so many unimportant details in the first 28 pages that I was just like, I was so bored, and I didn't understand the plot of the book at all. Even from the back, I was so confused, and we were focusing on this character for so long that it didn't have anything to do with the synopsis of the book. So it just didn't feel very fun for me, and I'm not going to read a book that I'm not going to enjoy. So I'm letting this one go. I did really want to power through and read a very, very large tome like this, but this just isn't the one for me. I'm sure I'll find another one out there that I can power through and really enjoy. Alright, lastly, we're going to talk about books that I have read and I'm getting rid of. A lot of these books in here are books that I actually really enjoyed and loved my reading experience and gave pretty good stars to. I just don't see myself rereading them. And then some of them in here I didn't like, and I'm getting rid of them for that reason exactly. So let's talk over it. As you can see, the first one here is The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. I gave this book a 5-star. I think that it was such an amazing book. It's so wonderful. It touches on, you know, white passing and microaggressions and just like the familial ties in a family and what that can mean for who you are and like what your upbringing is. It was just a beautiful book. So many fantastic things were talked about in this book, and I loved it so much. The representation in here was done really well. I loved the writing style, but I just don't see myself rereading this book. I think that it was a fantastic one-time read. I got a lot out of it. I really enjoyed my experience, but I definitely think that there's someone out there that can read this book and enjoy it just as much as I did, and I would be able to pass that on to them, pass that experience on to them, instead of keeping it in my collection knowing that I will never reread it. So, love this book. So glad that I read it, but I'm going to give it to somebody else so they can enjoy it. Same thing goes for The Perks of Being a Wallflower. I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was such a good one. I think I gave this a 4-star. I really enjoyed my reading experience. This book made me cry. It elicited a lot of emotions from me, but again, it's not a book that I see myself rereading, even though it is a quick and easy read. It's told in epistolary form, and it's very, very sweet. I just don't see myself rereading it anytime soon. I think that the adaptation that they made of this is such a fantastic adaptation, and I can watch that anytime instead of picking up the book. So really enjoyed this. So glad that I read it, but I'm going to give this to somebody else. Another book that I really enjoy, this is Conceal Don't Feel by Jen Kalanita. This just happens to be a series that I read them once, and I don't ever usually keep them. I think from now on I will just be getting the audiobooks and listening to those via audiobook and start getting the physical forms, because I never seem to keep these. I have 2 more books on my shelves in this series, but I just, again, don't see myself keeping them after I read them. So I really enjoyed this. This is the Frozen one. The twist on here is what if Anna and Elsa never knew each other, and it was really sweet. I loved it. It had so much correlation to the original movie, and a lot of the same characters that were in the movie were tied into the story really well, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun twist, and it's probably one of my favorite twisted tales that I have read so far, but again, just don't see myself rereading it. Up next, unfortunately, we have a book that I didn't like, and that was The Kissing Game by Maria Hart. This is a romance that just didn't do it for me, unfortunately. I really wanted to like this. I picked this up on my TBR actually because it was the lowest rated book on my TBR, and I can definitely see why. This book wasn't good. I will leave the vlog that I read this book, and I'll leave it in the cards above, because it was quite hilarious, the amount of bashing I did on this book, and it just wasn't anything that I wanted to subject myself to any longer, and keeping this on my shelf just wouldn't be a good representation of the books that I actually love. So this one has got to go. I wish that I liked it more, but alas, it was not for me. Up next is another book in a series, and that is The Fifth Wave by Rick Yancey. I gave this book a 3-star. I enjoyed it, and I will be continuing on with the series, but this is not a series that I would ever reread. It's a fun one-time thing, but not something I can see myself picking up and rereading to enjoy the experience. It was just a kind of a mediocre book, and I'm only picking up the second book to see if I want to continue on with the series and finish it out. I think that the series has potential, and it could be really good, but I don't really know how I feel about it. I'm just like kind of like middle of the road about my feelings for this book, and so since I see myself never rereading this, it doesn't make sense to keep it while I finish out the series. I'll just pick them up and go about them as I get them and kind of go from there. So that's my plan for this one. I would recommend it if you like a good first contact with alien sci-fi YA. It is very juvenile, I think, and it's not super detailed when it comes to the sci-fi aspects. And I feel like there's a little bit of an unnecessary romance in here, but if you like those type of things in a book, then you might really enjoy this. It just wasn't my favorite book I've ever read. Unfortunately, we have another book that I didn't really enjoy. It was Happily Ever Afters by Elise Bryant. This was a debut, and I gave this book a 2-star. I had a lot of problems with this book in the way that it was put together, and the lack of like really focus on a romance in this book, even though it is pitched as a contemporary YA romance. I just missed a lot of the things that I really wanted from this book. The lack of writing in this book, not in regards to writing, but the character is supposed to be a writer, and I was really looking forward to reading that in a book, and it just wasn't very prevalent in the story. And I did like a couple of things about the representation in here, but overall the actual execution of the story was really lackluster, and it was missing a lot of things to have a full impact of a story, and so unfortunately I did not enjoy this, and I will be letting this one go. Up next, we have another book that I really enjoyed, and that is Nights in Rodanthe by Nicholas Sparks. I really enjoyed this book. I have to say that it's not my favorite of the Nicholas Sparks books that I have read, but I still enjoyed it, and I think that it was a fun, quick read. Another book to get off my TBR. I usually keep this Nicholas Sparks books that I have read, but this just doesn't seem like one I would reread again. I thought it was a very simple, sweet story, and had a lot of, sadness towards the end, which is very usual for Nicholas Sparks books, but it just wasn't something that I see myself rereading, although I did really enjoy it. Up next, we have One to Watch by Kate Stayman London. This is a romance, what was supposed to be a really fat, positive romance about a girl that is set to be the main person on a Bachelorette style show. So it's that type of romance, and I thought that I was really going to enjoy this, and I did. I gave it a 3-star. I overall liked the book, but there were a lot of things that I had a lot of issues with in this book, and I just don't see myself rereading it for enjoyment. A lot of the book was very hard to get through, and felt like I was chugging along on a book that I wasn't really enjoying, but the parts that I did enjoy made me give it a 3-star. It just doesn't seem like a book that I would ever pick up to reread, so letting this one go as well. Up next, we have The Running Dream by Gwendolyn Van Dranian. I buddy read this last month with one of my friends and subscribers, Gabriel, and I really enjoyed this. I gave this book a 4-star. It was a really sweet and very uplifting and hopeful book, but it's not a book that I see myself rereading, and I want this book to go to somebody that can really enjoy it and connect with the characters, because it is a really wonderful and sweet book, but it's just not something that I see myself rereading at this time. But again, super uplifting. The representation in here is awesome, and I really enjoyed it, but not one that will stay on my shelves. And the very last book that we're going to talk about today that I'm getting rid of is Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reed. This was a really interesting and thought-provoking book, and I really enjoyed it. This was all the buzz last year. It won 2 awards in the Goodreads Choice Awards, and it was a book club pick for a lot of book clubs last year. And I really enjoyed it. I think that it had a lot of things to say about, racism and very unauthentic allyship, and some of the motives behind why people push so hard to be an ally for the Black community but don't really believe in what they're preaching. And it was an interesting book to watch come to fruition. I really enjoyed that aspect of it. I really liked the little girl character in this book. That was probably the highlight of this book. She was so cute and so well written. I really enjoyed that. But overall, I don't see myself rereading the story. I felt like it was a little bit not exactly what I was looking for. I will say that. I think I went into this book thinking that I was going to get one thing, and I really got another. And that's okay. That didn't really affect my enjoyment of the book. I really enjoyed it. But as for like a rereading experience, I don't think that that is something that I would reach for. So really enjoyed it, and I definitely want to pass this on to somebody that's really going to enjoy the story, because it was really good, and I definitely recommend it if you're looking for that type of story. It really reminded me of like Little Fires Everywhere type of vibes, but centered around Black lives and the injustices that some of us go through when, trying to live your everyday life. So really enjoyed that one, and I'm glad that I read it, but now it has to go to a new home. Alrighty, that is the end of this unhaul. I'm really glad that I did this. It has been past overdue. I have way too many books to take into the store, but I really hope that you guys enjoy this. Let me know if there's any books that have been sitting on your shelves for a little while that you need to get rid of and haven't done yet. Maybe this will motivate you to do a little bit of cleaning, spring cleaning, if you will, for your bookshelves. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to give it a big old thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe before you leave, and of course, leave any comments, questions, and suggestions in the comment section below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.